Great. Welcome, everybody. Well, we are at the top of the hour. So, hello and welcome to Cyber Chats 2025. My name is Strap Maloma with AARP California, where I serve as the lead for the AARP California Fraud Watch Network, which is a free fraud prevention and education resource that's available to anyone. Our network is all about helping communities spot and avoid frauds and scams through information, education, resources, and events like the one we're hosting today. So I thank you for joining us for the first in a series of weekly interactive cyber fraud prevention conversations that we're hosting throughout October, which is Cybersecurity Awareness and Online Safety Awareness Month. Folks, please, this is an interactive conversation, so we welcome hearing your comments, your experiences, your thoughts, and also your questions. And as always, we have a great panel of experts today who are looking forward to answering your questions. Today, we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence generated scams. How do they work? What do they look like? How we can stay protected from them? What are some of the red flags? And a lot more. But before I introduce our guests and we get into our conversation today, let me share a few housekeeping items so that we can all have a real productive call. So for audio purposes, as always, we ask, please keep your cell phone mute. To ask a question, simply use our raise the hand feature or type your questions in our chat. And when we get to our Q&A session, we'll invite you to unmute yourself and to come on and ask your question. I also want to share that you are going to hear from some great speakers today, but however, the opinions that they share may not necessarily represent those of their agencies. So we share this for educational purposes only. All right. So as I mentioned, today we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence, AI scams, deepfakes, etc. You know, I'm sure by now most of us have seen either some celebrity or some elected official say something that may sound strange to us. And this is also could be an AI generated piece that we saw. And we may have had questions as what I'm seeing, is it real or is it not real? How do we know? AI generated voices and videos are becoming more convincing, and it makes us puts us in a more difficult place to find out whether this is true or not, and with the intention really being to either defraud us or mislead us. So this unfortunately is the dark side of technology, in which voices and faces of people we think we know are made to look so realistic that it becomes very difficult for us not to believe what's happening, or even would be respond to something that a fraudster or a scammer may be asking us to do. Well, as I said, we have a great panel of experts who are joining us today to help us make sense of all this. So I want to take a minute to welcome my first guest who we're going to be talking to, and that's Dr. Juanita Dawson, who serves as the serves as the director for cybersecurity and compliance at Raytheon Technologies, where she provides the vision and leadership for developing and supporting initiatives that are critical in the compliance of security, cyber intelligence, risk management, records, learning, disaster recovery, and business continuity practices. Currently, Dr. Dawson serves as the advisor to the Inland Cyber Defense Clinic, ICDC. The ICDC is designed to train and mentor a multidisciplinary team in cybersecurity skills, equipping them with the tools to shield vulnerable groups from cyber threats. As an advisor, Dr. Dawson provides strategic guidance, industry insights, professional mentorships, and real-world connections to help align the clinic's activities with current cybersecurity industry needs and career opportunities. Also joining us, first of all, let me say welcome, Dr. Dawson. Also joining us is my second guest, Deirdre Lee, who serves as the Director for Virtual Program Experience with Older Adult Technology Services, OATS, from AARP. Deirdre joined OATS in September 2020 to help bring its national licensing program to fruition. As the manager of expanding licensing program, she oversees a vast network of partners who are trained and supported to deliver technology programs to older adults locally. Today, as the Director of Virtual Programs, Deirdre oversees all online senior planet classes, and virtual trainers to bring older adults participants from across the country to a dynamic mix of programs that are updated weekly. I tell you, welcome, Deidre. The two of you are extremely busy, I can tell from your bios there. So it really is a pleasure to have both of you with us today. Now, before we go and take some audience questions, I want to spend a few minutes just asking each of you about our topic today, artificial intelligence and AI scams, etc. So let me start with you, Dr. Dawson. Can you tell us a little bit about what exactly we're talking about when it comes to you know, deep fake scams? How do they differ from traditional online frauds and scams? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, thank you so much, Strat, and good afternoon, everyone. So, what exactly are deep fake scams? And they are that it's that online fraud that's powered by a lot of the artificial intelligence. And unlike the traditional scams that we see, like the text messages, the emails, the fake websites, the deep fake scams are AI generated audio, video, images, and but for the traditional fraud, usually you can spot them because they're flagged by some of your scam filters, or maybe the grammar's incorrect. But for the deepfake scams, they're really, really hard to detect because it looks and sounds so real. And these deepfake scams can be so dangerous because as a victim, as a person, you don't really realize that you've been scammed until it's really too late. And so the detection tools, they're still catching up with all of this. And many people overestimate the ability to spot those fakes. And they're just not a tech novelty, deep fake scams. They're really growing into a threat to individuals, businesses, even our democratic institutions. So that's a little bit about what they
Yeah,
are.
absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. So, are you seeing any trends that you've observed that fraudsters are using when it comes to using this type of emerging technologies that that they're using to target vulnerable groups? And this can not just necessarily older adults, but also younger folks too. Are you seeing any of that?
Mhm. Yes, I think key to this is that with technology, it's just kind of amplifying a lot of the old tricks that have been used. And so, some trends that we're seeing, such as voice cloning and deepfakes. So, scammers are using AI to mimic the voice of your loved ones. It's also you get the mass phishing campaigns where those AI tools generate thousands of personalized phishing emails and texts, and they look so real. And a lot of these digital surveillance, where you have unauthorized access, where password threat theft, keystroke lodging, there are a lot of different trends and tools in how the scams are being placed. Also, you'll see about chat box, social engineering via the chat box when you are getting information from your insurance company or from your technical services to find out problems. So deep fakes are using those as well, those fake customer support. So everything looks so real, but the trends, those are some of the fake trends that are happening. And there's a lot of technology being put into place that can help you to see some of the scams that are happening.
Wonderful. I must admit, social media,
Hmm.
we've seen a lot in social media. So let me ask, what role does social media play in terms of feeding data to scammers who then may use AI to convince us about a certain fraud? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, one way social media helps the scammer, it feeds it information about you. You have placed a lot of information out there. You are liking Facebook or Instagram posts. You are commenting on those posts. You have LinkedIn emails. You are paying bills online. You're doing a lot of things online where you are feeding the scammer because a lot of that is public information. It's your public profile. They'll have access to your name, photos of you, even voice clips when you do place videos online, your job information, family connections. It shows, these are your family members. Also, your post also talk about your personal interest, and scammers can mine that information together about who you are, what you like, and those kinds of things, and their images of you already in your bios, and this can help them to create those really convincing fake accounts. So some of you may have had that experience where your account has been compromised on Facebook or Instagram or any of the social media. So social media, it does help the scammers. And so we just need to really be careful in how and what we place out on social media. And I know a lot of people have started, well, I'm going to go travel somewhere, but I'm not going to post that while I'm actually traveling, because that way scammers will know, oh, she's gone. So a lot of people have put that up as a defense to not post a lot of information about yourself while you are away. So that's one way that social media really it does help them. And I'm not saying don't use it, but it does help them.
Right. We should really be careful how much of personal information that we share, especially not if we don't have our privacy settings set up correctly. So let's talk a little bit about red flags. Are there specific red flags that that we should be aware of, when receiving maybe a video call or voice messages or emails that might be AI generated?
Yes, for emails or text messages that you receive, when they look just a little bit too polished, or they look like something your family member wouldn't say, or
Mhm.
something that you don't think a business would say to you. It just looks too perfect. No typos. It's formal, robotic type phrasings in the emails, and also sometimes the tones may be mismatched. The message feels a little bit off. If it's a business talking to you or calling you, emailing you, if it seems like too casual of a conversation, you may want to look out for that. Also, you get the messages in the headers. Oh, this is an emergency. We need you to process this very quickly. Your system's going to go down right now if you don't click this button. So you get those urgent type messages, which can be a red flag. And I know you don't want your system to go down. You don't want to lose any data, but you do need to step away and just think about, what's happening. Why would my system be all of a sudden going down in the middle of me trying to process a transaction? So just think about some things. Also, look at the timestamps of some of those emails. It's 12 noon here, so you get a timestamp that's 3 a.m. You know, at this you get an email at the same time, but it's 12 noon, but it's 3 a.m. somewhere else. Then you think, wait a minute, that can't be. I don't think my provider or people that I'm talking to are in a time zone that's that different. And a lot of unusual type requests will come in, asking for money or asking for passwords, and please take care of this right away. You just be careful of those. Those are some red flags that may tip you off that maybe something really isn't right here. And so for you, some I guess a couple of tips. Just kind of back up and look at what's going on and just try to verify some things. If someone's calling you or emailing you, look at that email and see the email address. Usually the email addresses will have some .io or XYZ or something like that. It's something that throws off in the email. So just kind of step back and verify. Even some of the phone numbers, you know that you call a particular phone number for your insurance claims. Verify and you call the number yourself to verify what's happening, and just sometimes just trust your gut feeling on it that this may be something wrong, and also talk to other people about it. Yeah, talk to other people about things too, because you'll hear people say, "Oh yeah, that just happened to me. Oh, that's the same person that called me." So do talk to your family, friends, about things that are happening, seem out of the norm. For these red flags and scams that may be coming up.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Dr. Dawson. You know, a lot of these scams kind of have an ingredient of either urgency, of
Yeah.
fear, or emotion tied into them and getting you to react. And often they come to you unsolicited. So it's
Yes.
so important for us to take a pause, verify. Great advice. Thank you. I know you'll stick around, and when we get to questions, we'll have a lot more questions for you from our
Okay.
audience. Let's now shift to talking about the community side of this issue. And I'd like to welcome Deirdre Lee, who leads virtual program with older adult technology services from AARP, to help us understand how we can continue to build our digital confidence as we navigate technology safely. Deirdre, welcome again. A few questions for you. How does your role at Oates help us navigate the digital world safely, especially as a lot of these scams become so sophisticated?
Thank you so much, Shred, and thank you all for having me. It's an incredibly important topic. So my role at Oates is that I oversee all of our online Senior Planet programs, and that we offer 75 or more, sometimes free online classes a week, all around different technology themed topics. I also oversee our contact center, which is a phone number that you can call and get one-on-one help over the phone. But really, the things that tie those two things together, especially in relation to this conversation, is the education piece. So by joining programs like this, by seeking out education around fraud and scams, you are really making yourself a much more difficult target. So the more that you're staying up to date, not just on the scams themselves, but the underlying technology, that really helps you train your eye and train your gut to say, like Juanita was saying earlier, this feels off. This is just not quite right. I think one good example with AI is if you haven't ever played with an AI image generator, you're not going to know exactly what it's capable of. What are the themes that you're getting when you're looking at a whole bunch of different AI created photos? You'll start to pick up on things that, oh, the people look a little waxier almost, or kind of glossy than they do in a normal photo, in a photo that you know is real. So the more that you engage with that technology, the more you're going to arm yourself in ways to pick up on it if it's being used for malicious purposes. Within Senior Planet, we're specifically a community of older adults all learning these technologies together. So you'd be with a group of people who are not digital natives, right? I'm of the age group where I grew up with a computer class in my K through 12 education. I was learning word processing and video editing and things like that in school. For older generations, that's not necessarily the case. You may have had that education within your work environment, but you may not have. And so by learning together in a community with other people who have similar life experiences, you'll be able to learn from each other as well as learning from the trainer.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So in your role, I completely agree with you. The more we share, the more we educate and keep each other informed about these types of programs, the better we can stay protected. So what are you seeing as somebody dealing with the community so much as some of the common ways that scammers are trying to target the community through AI, especially through emails, phone calls, videos? Are you hearing about some common ways that they're doing this?
Yeah, unfortunately, there are a lot of ways that we're hearing. I think, as I say, I'll see some heads nodding and people who have had these same experiences. So one way that we see AI coming up a lot in fraud and scams is through using bots, so using robots to send out mass amounts of communication to try to figure out who's going to respond. So if you've ever gotten an email, or it's coming up a lot more in text messages now, it may just say, "Hi," from an unknown number, or it may say, "Oh, I'm not able to pick John up at the airport anymore. Could you pick him up?" I'm assuming all of us, "Oh, we don't want John to be left at the airport. I'm just going to respond and let them know that this is a wrong number." Actually, what's happening there oftentimes is it's not an actual person who mistyped your number. It is a bot that sent out thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of those messages, looking to see who is going to respond to me and who can I engage with. And so that's something that we're seeing more and more as AI is able to send out mass amounts of information and even personalized information. It may say, "Hey, Carolyn, your parking meter is about to run out." So, well, shoot, did I forget my card? And it gives you, say, "Oh no, this is incorrect information." If you respond to that, it may have your personal name in it in a way that you're thinking, "Oh, this is actually meant for me." But AI is really the technology behind getting those mass communications out to see who may be able to engage more, and then they can have a better chance at either stealing your identity or money or whatever the goal of the scammer is. The other piece that we're seeing, Juanita was talking quite a bit about it earlier, is through those deepfakes. So images, videos, and audio. And some of those are really the scary scams you might hear about. Like the kidnapping scam is the one that you're hearing about more often, where you'll get a scary phone call with someone who may be mimicking the voice of a loved one, or they may have information about where your loved one lives, works, what they like to do, to the point that you're having a very understandable emotional reaction, thinking that person that I love is in danger. Of course, your gut is, what can I do to save them, to make sure that they're okay? But by using AI, those people are really able to make something quite convincing, either in video, photo, or voice. And so, like we were talking about earlier, really just taking a minute and trying to take a deep breath. Probably the hardest thing to do, right, is if you're having that emotional reaction, take a minute and second guess it for a moment. Take a deep breath and think, okay, what next step should I take here, as opposed to just going with whatever they're saying that you should do. There's a lot of things that you can do in response, for example, calling or texting the person that is allegedly in danger and seeing, oh, are they actually in danger? Or taking a minute and asking some questions back, or maybe just making an assumption that this is a scam, hanging up, and they want to communicate with you, right? So they might call back if it is something that's real. But we're seeing a lot more of that as the technology gets more sophisticated.
Thank you, Deirdre. That's really some great answers there. Let me ask you this. You know, the community being what role do you see the community playing in terms of helping each other? Maybe it's peer to peer, to help reduce vulnerabilities to frauds and scams. And then I also want to add, kind of get your sense of how would you go about advising folks who may feel a little bit embarrassed if they've been targets of frauds and scams, embarrassed reporting or sharing that this is something that they're experiencing that's out there.
Yeah, great questions. And so on the community piece, I'm really a huge proponent of group learning, right? You can get a lot from a one-on-one class, but I think you're always going to get more if you're learning together in a group. Not only because you'll get questions that other folks may ask in that group that you maybe hadn't thought of, but you're also going to get the expertise and the information from other people. So the trainer might not have every single answer, or the person who's leading, even in this conversation today, I won't have every single answer. And I'm guessing if we all put our brains together for any given question, we'll have a really, really good answer there. And so by having a community to learn together with, I think it helps increase the knowledge, but it also helps destigmatize that fraud and scams in general. So you were touching on it, Strat, people feel a lot of shame and embarrassment if they've interacted with something that is, a fraud or a scam. The important thing to remember is the other person, whoever is behind it, they are the criminal, right? They are the one doing something wrong. By clicking on it, you did not do the wrong action. They are the one that is in the wrong. So being a little bit kinder to ourselves, I've clicked something I shouldn't have in an email. I've done it multiple times. And this is, I'm interacting with this kind of stuff every day. It happens. We all need to give ourselves a little bit of grace. If it does happen to you, speaking up about it, I think is one of the bravest things that you can do, not only because it's going to help others avoid that, but it's also going to help destigmatize it. And so if we're talking, with other people, this happened to me, they'll know to be on the lookout for that, but they'll also know, oh, it's okay. You are a safe person. I can come and talk to you if something is, feels a little bit off in this message, or maybe I clicked something or opened something I shouldn't have. You now have another resource, and you've created a bond with that person. On the other side too is, the way that we react to other people. If they have taken that brave step to share with us, I think I've been the victim of a fraud, or I think I'm maybe being scammed. Our initial reaction to each other can really set the tone for what that, how that person feels after. So taking a minute to think about exactly the words that you use, not what did you click or what did you do? Instead, reframing that. I'm so sorry that happened to you. What can I do to help? And making sure that you're coming at it from the standpoint, really, it's not the person who interacted with it that did something wrong. It's the person that perpetrated that did something wrong.
Great advice there. Thank you very much, Deirdre, for that great answer. Extremely helpful information. Let's and I want to hear from our audience to see what they're experiencing and see whether we can provide some answers to their questions. And then we'll come back and ask a few more questions. Let's see, who do we have? I'd like to invite Felicia Myers. I hope I'm saying your last name correctly. Felicia, would you like to unmute yourself and come on and ask your question? Are you with
Hello,
us?
I wanted to, hi, I
Hi,
wanted
thank
to
you for being
know,
on.
thank you. How do you discern AI from real messages? I know you said it looks a certain way, but that's very vague to me. And I can
Absolutely.
give you
Let's
an
turn to our
example. I got an email from the IRS saying that if you don't contact us by this certain date, you're going to lose your tax return. And I knew I didn't receive my tax return, but I went to the IRS website and got their phone number and called them from that phone number on their website. And indeed, it was real. But to me, it looked fake. And if I ignored it, I probably would have lost my tax return.
Right.
So I'm so
Right.
confused.
I appreciate that question. Great question. Let's turn to our panel and see what they can advise. Juanita, would you like to go first? And then we'll hear from Deidre.
Yes, yes. It's really in trusting your gut. It looked fake to you, but you still went and double checked something. So that really, really was good. It looked fake, but you said, maybe I better go ahead and check it out just to see. And it happened. So you're gonna get those where it may look fake, but it turns out to be real, or it's real, but then it turned out to be fake. So it's you trusting your gut and checking a little bit further. And like the person emailed or called you, I think you said about the IRS, it was good you went out to the actual IRS website to get the actual number, because a lot of times you get a message and it has a phone number that's a fake phone number that's set up to look like maybe the IRS. And it's good that you went and did a different channel to find out the actual information. So, and usually companies will tell you, IRS as well, we will never contact you and ask you this or that. So they tell you that most companies will, like that, agencies like that. So it was good that you stepped back and just thought, let me double check, and you went another channel.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I
Felicia.
completely agree with everything that Juanita said. In terms of AI specifically, there are a couple of tools that you can use to see if something is AI generated. Now, I will put a caveat on this. They are not 100% accurate, right? There's nothing that any of us could share with you guys today that says, this is the one way you can tell. And sadly, that's just the truth. But there are a couple of websites. One is aiornot.com. And another one is gpt0.me. Those are both platforms that we teach at Senior Planet that can help you determine if either text or an image or a video is AI generated. Now, these sites will boast, 98 or 99% accuracy rate. The reason that they're able to do that is because the answer that they often will give you is, this is likely AI, or highly likely AI, or likely not AI. So they're giving you, there's kind of some wiggle room in that answer, right? It's not going to tell you again perfectly, but if you engage with those enough, and sometimes you might need to create an account, even a free account to engage with them, those you can start to train yourself a little bit better to train your gut to recognize it more and more. And I can put those sites in the chat. I see a couple of people asking for them, so happy to do that.
Thank you, Deirdre. Appreciate that. And thank you for Dr. Dawson for those responses. I now want to invite Linda Springer on to ask a question. Linda, are you on?
Yes, I'm on. And I agree with the other woman. I have an email address for my AT&T accounts. They told me I had to set up an AT&T email address, which I don't really use. And then at some point they migrated to Yahoo. And then I got a very urgent email from Yahoo saying you haven't used your account in 12 months, which is likely, and that you're going to lose everything. You need to act fast. So I didn't click that link. I called AT&T and they said they suspected it was spam. But then when I finally got a hold of Yahoo, they said it was not spam. So it was really tricky, but at least I didn't click on that link. I went to somebody else who, if it wasn't real, wouldn't have known anything about it. So, and I don't really need that account, so I'm not gonna.
Thank you,
Yes.
Linda.
A lot of, oh,
It definitely seems that with the increase in AI, that even companies have to take a proactive step in ensuring that the messages, the information that they're putting out, in which they're requesting their customers or clients to do something, that they give them some sort of reassurance that this is not a fraud or a scam, or give them at least a bit of a heads up, because similar to what our previous commenter said and what Linda's saying, it seems there's a lot of uncertainty whether is this AI or is this something real that a company put out. But go ahead, Juanita.
yeah, I was just going to say a lot of the scams, they appeal to your emotions. And a lot of times it's something they're looking at. They know some information about you. You've posted something or you've commented on something. So, and they know these kind of things. It's tax time. So let me, just do like a spam out to everybody about taxes. So you're going to think, oh, wow, I owe or I don't owe, or am I getting money? So a lot of the scams will appeal to your emotion or something that's happening around that time. So I think just being able to step back and look at the email or the text. Just look at it, talk about it, and then make your own calls.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Before we go to Charles for his question, did you want to weigh in on this a little bit, Deirdre?
I think I can just continue to underscore, taking yourself out of that initial method of communication, being it a phone call, a text message, an email, and going directly to the source. If you always do that, then you're going to avoid a lot of the malintentioned fraud and scams out there.
Absolutely. Verification is so important, and verify with the correct source. I'd like to invite Charles. Charles, did you have a question? Okay. Um, let's go to our next question. I believe, is this Shelley? Shelley, you have a question? Shelley?
Yes, I was wondering, just before this seminar, actually, I received a phone call from a company that I've done business with. And when I answered the phone, it was a scammer, because they asked for my husband and they had a very thick accent. And I was just wondering, how is it possible for scammers for it to show up on my phone that it's a person or a company that I know, but yet it's not?
Great. Thank you for your question, Sherry.
Mhm.
Who would like to weigh in? Let's start with Deirdre this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's called spoofing, where folks can mimic a phone number that isn't theirs. And maybe Juanita, you can speak a little bit more to the actual technology behind it, but it is something to really be aware of. You'll see it a lot with the same area code and maybe even same like first 3 digits of your phone number. Folks will find your phone number and they'll call from numbers that are similar to yours, to try to get you to pick up because you think, oh, maybe it's someone who I know or in my neighborhood, right? Someone who lives near me, they have the same area code. So yeah, I'll pass it over to you, Juanita.
Yes, I was gonna say that it's the spoofing of those phone numbers. You can get all kinds of phone numbers to be able to do these things, as well as email addresses. You can the scammers can create all kinds of email addresses that look like the organization or whoever they're trying to mimic. They can, set up an email that's called IRS dot XYZ or something, and you think it's legitimate until you look a little bit closer at it, at the email address or the phone number, and you realize that, wait a minute, this has some XYZ ABC kind of number, alphabets or numbers in it, that this does not look like the actual IRS, or any organization's email. And the same with the phone numbers. Like Deidre said, it could be your same area code. Maybe a name will pop up that looks familiar. Oh yeah, I just talked to Charlotte. And then now here's a phone number that pops up, Charlotte, but that's not the person that you were thinking. So you just have to look and just be careful. But the technology for creating those email addresses, for creating those phone numbers, it's just out there that anybody can do it, and that's what the scammers are doing.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I'll also mention too, technology is how people are creating these scams, but technology is in a lot of ways also helping us. So there are, look at your specific email provider or your phone. I just noticed, I recently updated to the new iOS 26, so the new update for iPhone. And when calls are coming in, I've noticed this little check mark box and it says, oh, calls with the check mark have been verified that they're actually coming from the sender. So I do encourage you to look at your specific email provider or your specific phone provider. There may be some ways that they're trying to help you determine whether or not it's a legitimate call or email.
Yes, same thing with the Android as well. I think we just loaded and got some software updates from Android, and they have those now. And there are different buttons and settings that you can set to, block unknown callers, or so there are some ways that technology can help, and the scammers are using them as well.
Absolutely. Makes it sad to say sometimes it makes it easier for all of us, right? For scammers and us. I'm going to invite user. I see you, Zoom user. You have your hand up, please. Feel free to unmute yourself and come on and ask your question. You're on mute still.
Oh, that might have
Right,
been a
okay.
mistake.
All right, I
Alright.
thought I had my name. I guess I don't have my name. Sorry, my name's Polly.
Thank you, Polly.
Um, yeah, I just have like one question, well, several, but I'm just gonna ask one. You mentioned about how when you use like chat boxes, like when you call you company, I have one company in particular I'm thinking about, but I won't mention. Um, the chat box and you try to get information from them, and it can be a scammer. How would you know if you're actually talking to someone from that company or if it's actually a scammer?
Juanita, care to weigh in? Thank you for your question, first of
Sure.
all.
Mhm.
Yes, you actually don't know, and I think that's where we talked about checking a second source. So if you are online trying to get information and a chat box comes up, saying, "Hey, hello, I'm this person, what kind of information do you need?" If you kind of get a feeling that that may not be the chat box associated with what you're trying to do, go ahead and do another source. Look for the phone number. Look up the actual website that you're working with just to verify. And you could do that whether you get a feeling that it's a scam or not. Just do that second source. I think that just kind of keeps you safe a lot of the times. And yeah, I think that's it. Just make sure you check that second source.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right, thanks. I
Mhm.
appreciate that. Okay.
absolutely. Thank you. Great advice. Deirdre, did you want to add anything to?
No, I think Juanita covered it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
thanks. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. So, we've spoken a lot about these deep fakes, etc. I do have two follow-up questions that I do want to ask, and that is more so for Deirdre and Juanita. Please also weigh in. Are you seeing any kind of increases in the reports of scams that involve impersonation, fake videos? Are folks reaching out and reporting this more often? And then the other part of this question is, are older adults more vulnerable to these types of AI generated scams compared to maybe younger adults?
Yep, great questions. We are seeing them reported more often, though I can pretty much guarantee they're underreported, right? So we're seeing those scams come up more often, but especially let's say, we talked a little bit about earlier the kidnapping scam. Usually those are going to be higher sums of money that people are asking for. And I think someone's, more likely to say, "Oh, I was, scammed out of $25 than thousands," or I think someone even put in the chat hundreds of thousands. So on the report side, there is still a huge gap between how often it's happening and how often it's being reported. But we are seeing more with the voice cloning and video cloning and image deepfake manipulation than ever before. In terms of older adults being targeted more, historically older adults have been the targets of more fraud and scams than the general population, and that has remained true with AI as well. But the technological piece to it does, or I should say, can also contribute to that gap widening. So if folks are, if you are out of the workforce, there may be less pressure for you to interact with AI now, right? You have to choose to learn or play around with AI. It's a personal choice. Your work's not pushing you into it. So the less familiar we are with a tool, the less likely we're going to be able to spot that tool being used against us. So a little bit what I was talking about earlier, it's kind of up to each of us individually to decide, how much we want to engage with any new technology. But I would encourage people to at least learn about it. And the more you learn about it, the less likely you are to be a target.
Yes, and I agree with that. Thank you, Deidre. And I think older adults, retirees, they're especially targets because usually they may have a large financial assets that's available. Many retirees have savings, pensions, home equity. That just makes them attractive to scammers. Also, like Deidre said, we've older adults may not be really familiar with all of the latest technologies. Deidre said she's been doing this since grade school, so that's attractive to scammers that you just may not know. Also, older adults do trust authority more. Where oh, that's the IRS calling. I better listen, but it may not be the IRS. So you're more trusting of authority. And also, uh, what can be done, I think programs like this from AARP and also from the Inland Cyber Defense Clinic, these are programs that help awareness. As your awareness is really your first line of defense, just knowing that the AI scams are even out there. And then the verification, of course, that we talked a lot about. Just try to confirm that these are legitimate using outside other sources than the one they contacted you on. And also, if you can limit what you do share online, be careful, cautious about what you're sharing, and also just let someone know it's okay. Let someone know this can happen to anyone, whether it's a scam or not. Just let someone know about it because these scams are just evolving really, really fast. But so is the awareness of the scams, like Deidre was saying.
Right. And to be totally honest, it often takes law enforcement some time to catch up to new scams. So, AI scams, voice generator, all of that, they're still learning themselves. So, keeping the education in front of folks, it becomes really important. I want to invite Nancy Nosko to come on. Nancy, you have a really good thought around safe word. Do you want to unmute yourself and come on and share a little bit about your what share with us about that? Nancy, are you on? Let's give Nancy a second. Okay, maybe not. So Nancy has a really good suggestion, something that I think is very helpful with things like grandparent scams. And she says it's good to have a safe word with loved ones. So someone posing as a relative would not know or would be able to supply a word to confirm their identity. I think that's a really great suggestion, something to I think that we always see very helpful with things like grandparent scams. Want to weigh in or comment? Any thoughts from from Deirdre? I see you shaking your head.
Yeah,
Juanita?
just that's a great suggestion, and highly encourage everyone to create that safe word with friends and family.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Let's see whether we have any other questions from our audience. What do you do if you do get scammed? That's a question from Jenna. How do you, or what's your reaction from when you get scammed? Juanita, you have any thoughts on that? And then we'll hear from Deirdre. Deirdre?
Yes, if the scam goes through, you need to report it. Um, especially well, if it's a bank, that type scam, usually those are the worst ones. Report it to your bank because there are claim processes that you can go through your banks. I think someone put something in about Bank of America, but you can also just check in with your bank because they have fraud investigators to backtrack and figure out what happened, and they can sometimes retrieve your funds and help to catch those criminals. And I see something in the chat about a fraud network as well to make sure you report it.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in on that.
Mhm.
AARP's Fraud Watch Network is really an excellent resource, because
Mhm.
the real answer is that it's going to depend on the fraud and scam. You know, wanting to give some great examples. If it's a bank scam, this is what you do. But if it's a different kind of scam, you know, they have trained professionals who will work with you to determine what those right next steps are, and they do it without shame, and you know, they're really wonderful people, and it's actual people that you're getting on the phone, right, that are talking with you. So highly recommend doing that as a resource, and that's a good first step. There's always the kind of general hygiene, digital hygiene, right? So changing your passwords, staying hyper vigilant, putting freeze on your credit. Those are some things that you can do right away if you either have been scammed or fear that you might become the victim of a scam. You know, maybe you interacted with something and it just is not sitting quite right with you, but you're not totally sure if it's actually going to be a problem or not. There are a couple of things that you can do proactively to help make sure that that's not the case.
Yeah. And I think also don't blame yourself. There's probably nothing that you did or didn't do. Everyone's a target. So don't blame. Well, you can say I change my password all the time. I, make sure I'm when I'm traveling, I'm not taking pictures and posting. You can do all those things, but just we all are victims. We all can be victims. So don't blame yourself on any of these. And I know we're telling you, Deidre and I are telling you a lot of different safeguards and to check this and to call this person. But still, we all, can be victims at one point. So don't blame yourself. Go ahead and try to put some of those controls in place to help you stay safe.
Absolutely, very good advice there. And these scammers, that's all they do. They work to target their next to see how they can get our hard-earned money. So, whether you're a college professor, whether you're a banker, whether you're a member of the FBI, they target everybody. So, the blaming yourself is really an important thing to remember. And I think also it's also really important to remember that scammers are after either one or two things. It's either your identity, so that they can go and use your identity to commit other frauds and scams, or it's either your hard-earned money. So making sure we have a good idea about where our identity is it safe, is it frozen, etc. Has somebody compromised it? Often helps. You're entitled to some credit reports. Check on those regularly to make sure you get in real time what's happening with your identity. The same way of opening online accounts. I remember we used to get our bank statements every 30 days or so, and that's a long time to wait before you can actually get that piece of paper to see what's going on with your account. It's good to have an electronic version where you can set alerts to your accounts to see whether your balance has fallen below a certain amount, whether there have been any illegitimate transactions, and so forth. And then the other thing that I think both of our speakers emphasized is, don't keep these things a secret. Report, report, report. It may help others and bring these types of frauds and scams to light. But we have a little time left. I'm going to invite Nancy Austin on to ask her question. Nancy, are you still on with us? Would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question? I think, Deidre, this would be a good question for you. And anyway, I don't see Nancy, but Nancy says, so what if you don't even know how to learn about AI? Where do you start? So this might be a good place to direct Nancy to.
Yeah, really teamed me up, Nancy. I appreciate it. So Senior Planet has a lot of great resources to learn about AI. I'll share the link in the chat, but seniorplanet.org/AI pulls together all of our classes on that topic. They're all free. They're all easy to join. By joining this Zoom meeting, you've done exactly what you would need to do to join those classes. But there are also some other resources on that page too. We have some quizzes around, can you spot different AI? We have an AI infographic, so highly encourage you to check out that page. I know we've done a couple of programs with AARP California around AI. Really just seek out in the places that you look for programming like this and see if they're offering AI classes. But we'd love to have you at Senior Planet.
Yeah. Also, the Inland Cyber Defense Clinic, that is a great one as well, and I think it was placed in the chat as well. And that clinic is designed to train teams and people in cybersecurity skills to equip them with the tools to shield the vulnerable groups, populations like us, from those cyber type threats and those scams. So that's another source as well.
Great. Thank you both very much. I think I could speak to you forever, and I'm sure our audience could listen to you forever and go on and on about, the great things that work, that one that you're doing, but the great tips that you're sharing about keeping ourselves safe from frauds and scams. So I do want to thank my guests, Deirdre Lee with Oates, as well as Dr. Juanita Dawson, for spending their time with us, answering our questions, and giving us some real great advice. Before we do say goodbye, I just want to give each of them a quick second or two to share any final thoughts, any closing thoughts, or any resources or suggestions for us as we go into the digital world safely.
Mhm. I just want to say thank you so much, Strat and team, and thank you, Deirdre, also for being able to provide this kind of information. Thank you to the audience. Very excellent questions that, as I go back in my studies and research, I will take all those in consideration. So I appreciate your time that you're taking to help us to help you. So thank you.
I'll echo what Juanita said. The technology landscape changes so quickly. It really keeps us on our toes for developing programs and doing presentations like these. So I want to thank everyone for your participation today. This has been a wonderful session, and thank you, Strat and AARP California, for having me.
Well, thanks to the both of you, our special guests today, and also to my colleague behind the scenes, Marissa, who's helping us manage all the questions and putting this event together. I also want to thank you folks for joining us. I hope you have homework, and the homework that we ask is please go into your communities and share this information with others to help them keep safe from fraud and scams. And, we look forward to seeing you back next week as we talk about how do we keep our mobile devices protected from fraudsters and scammers. So thanks very much for joining us, and look forward to next week's conversation. Take care, everybody.